brothers and sisters, welcome to our today's program. We are the 7th of August 2021. My name is Odon Boulamba. I'm going to present to you our program, which is known as Tour du Jour, which we are going to talk about the insecurity in the eastern part of Congo, and specifically, today we are going to talk about the North Kivu, or Nord Kivu in French. This part of the country has been going through a lot lately. For those who are aware, they know what I'm talking about. And this situation is somehow really hard for the inhabitant of that area. Everything that I'm going to talk about, it's from the United Nations report for 2021 from the Security Council. This report was written on the 10th of June 2021. So this report highlights a lot of things within it, and it talks about different things, how things have been going wrong in different parts of the Congo Democratic. Because this report will be like our guide during this conversation, I'm also going to focus on a three main points of this report. The first one is about insecurity in North Kivu. The second part talks about the insecurity in Ituri, and the last time is about the insecurity in South Kivu. As we are going to talk about insecurity in North Kivu today, I will split also that first part in two parties. And the first part I will talk about the Allied Democratic Forces, ADF. Who are those people? Who are the ADF? That will be the part that I will focus on today. I will also talk a little bit about the cocoa sector, where the farmers work in cocoa farms. However, that business of cocoa has made the country to become more and more a target for the rebels and for those who have been attacking our Democratic Republic of Congo somehow. And next time I'll talk to you also about the way that there have been an overthrow of the armed groups in Masisi, Ruchuru, Walikale, and Lubero. And I'll also talk about the way that food has been smuggled, and tantalum as well as tungsten. And finally we'll talk about the ambush of the assassination of some members of the diplomatic staff who visited the eastern part of Congo. That will be in the first part of this program. If today is your first time to watch us, I will invite you to subscribe on our channel. Don't hesitate to share with friends and colleagues this video, and finally click on like. Once again, thank you for the trust that you give to us. Let us start now with North Kivu, and let's talk about the Allied Democratic Forces. Who are they? Who are the ADF? From Beni territory to Irimu territory in Ituri province, there is a high level of violence and attacks against civilians by armed groups. Since the end of 2020, civilians, especially those who are cocoa farmers, and military personnel in the Rwenzori sector have experienced several attacks. The Allied Democratic Forces, ADF, led by Seka Baluku. Seka Baluku is a citizen of Uganda and is from Kasese area in Uganda. So the Allied Forces has been the main source of violence in the area. Despite the operations of the armed forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo and the effort of the MONUSCO, ADF has intensified recruitment. They master the terrain, meaning that they know the field, and they are also supported by some people. And we are going to talk about that support that they get through this program. They frequently use improvised explosives, which have been diminished the capabilities of the Congolese army. Let's think a little bit about sites and the leadership of the Allied Democratic Forces. The ADF operates in Beni territory. They are divided in two mobile groups, Rwenzori, around the road linking Mbao to Kamango, north of Beni and up to the south of Ituri, Irimu territory. ADF are also found around Mamove, Erengeti, Kainama. Kainama is where Seka Baluku is believed to be, in the southern part of Ituri. This mobility and fragmentation further increases the unpredictability of ADF movements and attacks, and expanded the area of the operations of the armed group. The lack of clarity as to the precise location of the ADF is also due to the activities of other armed actors in the region. The ADF base camp, which is known as Madina, where Baluku and other ADF chiefs live, was probably still on the border of Beni and Irimu territories, between Lese and Bango. Madina also sometimes is called Medina or Tahid Wahu Mujahideen, MTM, by the IDF, refers to the headquarters of the ADF regardless of where it is located. As I said, their camps move from one place to another one, time after time. Madina was established in 2008 and has been displaced at least 5 times due to Congolese army operations. Other camps are located in northern part of Mbao, Kamango Road. In Mamove, Mamove is around the Mayangose forest, and 2 other camps are around Mwalika in the area called as Domaine. Living conditions in the camp, as you may think, here we are talking about the ADF camps. So living conditions are extremely difficult. Given the high number of people to be fed in the camps, there is still a lack of food supply. As a result, the ADF spend most of the time collecting food outside camps. This was by direct order of Baluku, or through his deputy Lukwago Hood, also known as Pierrot. Let me highlight here that Pierrot is also from Uganda. He is a Ugandan citizen, aged about 65. However, a dissident faction of the ADF, composed of about 30 fighters, led by Muzaya, former military commander at the Mwalika camp, Benjamin Kisokeranio, close advice to Jamil Mukulu, and Hassan Nyanzi, son of Mukulu, has been active since 2019, mainly in Virunga National Park near the Semuliki River. How do they recruit? The Congolese operations and the arrest of several ADF collaborators and fighters throughout 2020 have succeeded in downsizing and temporarily restricting ADF resupply chains, prompting them to step up recruitment and attacks. They recruit by force, meaning that the capture of civilians during attacks. They also recruit by deception, telling people lies, promising them a job, studies, or better living conditions, and the victims are recruited also either by combatants who call their friends, family members, urging them to come to the area, and recruitment voluntarily through propaganda and cooptation. The last two methods having also been used to recruit individuals outside of the territory of Beni. Many people have been recruited from Goma, Baraka, Fizi, or the borders of the Democratic Republic of Congo. The ADF is mostly composed of Ugandans, especially officers. Then the second large group in the ADF are Congolese, followed by Tanzanians, Burundians, Kenyans, and Rwandans. There are also Somalis, South Africans, and Mozambicans who are part of the ADF rebels group. Remember that there was an escape from Beni prison which were orchestrated by ADF that was also conceived as a massive recruitment effort. Weapons, improvised explosive devices, drones, and military trainings are part of styles, techniques, materials, or intelligence that is the ADF uses. Arms supplies and military training. Let's talk about that. ADF are equipped with AK-type assault rifles, PKM automatic weapons, RPG-7 grenade launchers and grenades, 60mm mortars, heavy machine guns, Motorola radios, and military uniforms. They also used machetes and knives in the killings, beheadings, and mutilations. In the ADF camps, weapons are stored in specific huts under the control of Kikute and Mzee Yakubu in Medina, and in Mwalika, Amigo is in charge. The main source of arms supplies were attacks on smaller Congolese army positions and soldiers. These attacks were carried out only if the need for resupply became urgent. Cross-border arms trafficking from Uganda also has been continuous. Weapon handling and combat or ambush techniques continues to be part of the basic training of the ADF recruits, as did the precepts of Islam, and most cited or named is Rafiki and Amisi Kasada, alias Mzee Wako or Kalume. They have been known as military instructors in Medina. Instructors in small camps such as Mwalika, where we know that Amigo is in charge. And sometime Amigo will send ADF recruits to Medina for advanced training. The usual duration of training, mainly between 10 and 30 recruits, ranged from 1 week to 3 months, depending on the ongoing operations, after which recruits were sent to attack FRDC or the Congolese army villages and camps. Let us talk about the manufacture and the use of improvised explosive devices and presence of surveillance drones in the area. In particular, the area around Kainama and Erengeti along the North Kivu and Ituri borders have been contaminated by improvised explosive devices in recent months, which corresponded to the increased presence and attacks by ADF in southern Irimu territory and northern Beni territory, possibly to secure liaison roads close to Ugandan border. From November 2020 to March 2021, at least 45 Congolese army members and 12 civilians were killed or injured in the explosion of improvised devices. The improvised explosive devices have been placed along trails during attacks to prevent the Congolese army from pursuing the attackers and covering the ADF withdrawal. Those devices were also laid along the access road to target the Congolese army, foot patrols, and civilians approaching ADF camps. They were laid in agricultural fields or farms in the areas of operation of the ADF. In these cases, the aim was to prevent civilians from approaching to force farmers and local population to leave the area or to prevent crops. The ADF planned to acquire the technology for making suicide bombs. ADF is using at least 2 surveillance drones at Medina camp. In March 2021, the United Nations Army, Peacekeepers Army, reported the presence of a drone flying near the ADF camp between Chabi and Ndalia in Irimu territory. Medin Kalubo, who is also known as the Punisher, is said to be the drone pilot and a manufacturer of improvised explosive devices. These explosives are assembled in Medina and Mamov camps by ADF members from Burundi, Kenya, and Tanzania. They use batteries, explosives, and detonators that come from Uganda. Empty cartridges were collected on the battlefield, reused, and placed in pots and pans to amplify the explosion of improvised devices. Mortars and grenades, projectiles projectiles used in triggering systems were stolen from the FARDC or the Congolese army. Abuakasi, also known as the White Man, and Seka Kahumi, both are Tanzanians, were cited as bomb makers. Let's talk about the attack on civilians in Rwenzori. It is since June 2020 that Rwenzori has become a victim of attacks, and I can tell you, attacks by ADF of course, and I can tell you that at least from that time to now, more than 50 attacks have been reported. More than 250 civilians have been killed and thousands displaced. They kidnap, here I'm talking about the ADF, they kidnap, they murder, they attack civilians, they destroy anything on their way, and they loot. These acts constitute serious violations of human rights and international humanitarian law and are punishable. Let's go back a little bit and talk about the Beni prison. With the aim of freeing fighters and collaborators of the group and recruiting on a large scale, on 20 October 2020, an attack organized by Amigo and Mulalo on a Kambayi Beni prison caused the mass escape of more than 1,300 out of 1,455 detainees who were there. Let's change maybe the subject a little bit and talk about the cocoa sector or cocoa farms. Involvement of some members of the ADF and those of the Congolese army and impact of those armed groups. ADF attacks on cocoa farmers. ADF killed by machetes or bullets more than 100 farmers who were in the field throughout Beni territory, many of whom cultivated cocoa, and abducted hundreds more, sometimes forcing them to farm on their behalf. Attacks on farmers took place in Rwenzori, around Oicha, in fields along the Mbau-Kamango Road, and from mid-2020 in the southern part of Irimu. The ADF, which carried out the attacks, referred to land eviction and land ownership during the attacks in Rwenzori. The ADF and its collaborators have carried out isolated acts of cocoa harvesting, theft, trades, particularly in Rwenzori. Cocoa traders have occasionally been targeted during ADF attacks in urban areas. At least 4 traders were subjected to armed attack, threats, and abductions, and their premises were looted by unidentified armed assailants. The Congolese army, cocoa harvesting and trades. The cocoa farmers in Beni and Rwenzori areas who had not cultivated their cocoa field in 2020 and early 2021 for fear of armed attacks by the ADF, by Mai Mai, by the unidentified armed assailants, and by the Congolese army members. The majority of their cocoa has been harvested by the Congolese army members or unidentified youth in military or plain clothes, military uniforms. The Congolese commando soldiers, led by Major John 00 of the 312th Commando Battalion, also known, this guy, John 00, is also known as John TP00, harvested cocoa in 2020 and 2021 in abandoned fields around Halungupa, Bulongo, and Mutuanga, sometimes assisted by civilians. In the Congolese army residence in Oicha, in their positions also in Mamiki and PK20, and also in the Halungupa Adventist Church, which the Congolese army has been using. Those areas have been classed as cocoa depot or cocoa stores, if you want. The Congolese army members and their spouses have become cocoa traders in Oicha, Bulongo, Halungupa, and Beni. They use motorcycle and taxi drivers to transport cocoa to commercial cities for resale, including Oicha, Nobili, and Bunia. A Congolese army spokesman stated that while the wives of Congolese soldiers could trade, the Congolese soldiers were not allowed to do so. Cocoa production, exports, and smuggling. The Congolese soldiers facilitated cross-border cocoa smuggling into Uganda in collusion with some Congolese border officials. For instance, Captain Kyumba of the Congolese Army 312th Commando Battalion operated in a store with a civilian to export cocoa from Halungapa. Trucks were transporting cocoa weekly on behalf of or accompanied by the Congolese army members on National Road Number 4 in 2020 and 2021. They also help smugglers to smuggle their cocoa into Uganda at night across the Lubiliha River for a payment of $750 by truck or per truck. Smuggled cocoa reached Intalia, Bwere, and Bundibugyo in Uganda, where traders affixed certificates of Ugandan origin, including for export purposes. In 2020, cocoa export from the Congo to global destinations totaled more than 47.5 tons, just under 34.5 tons, which were exported by Kasindi. Kasindi is in Beni territory, of which 10% was officially exported to Uganda. Kasindi is a border of Uganda and Congo around Beni. Let us talk about the trafficking of ammunition by the members of the Congolese Army and the Congolese Institute for Nature Conservation in Beni territory. On March 13 this year, at the residence of one of the captain of the Congolese Army, known as Zine Boda of the 32nd Rapid Reaction Brigade in Mambango, We are in the southern part of Beni town. 83 boxes of ammunition and a bag containing various ammunition for PKM, automatic weapons, and AK-type assault rifle were seized, which had been trafficked between some Congolese army members and eco guards of the Congolese Institute for Nature Conservation in Garamba National Park. The ammunition was seized by the Congolese military justice system, which arrested 5 Congolese officers, army officers, and 3 soldiers, 4 eco guards, and 1 civilian for the sale and trafficking of war ammunition. Note that a box of the ammunition cost between 55 and 60 USA dollars. In 2018 and 2019, ammunition was purchased from the Congolese Army Unit based in Nyaleke, eastern part of the town of Beni. The administration of the Garamba National Park explained that informal purchases of ammunition had been a regular practice in the past, as official requests were not honored by the competent authorities. This is what I wanted to talk to you. This is the first part of this situation of insecurity in South Kivu. And the next time, we will continue talking about clashes and the overthrow of the alliance of armed groups in Masisi, Ruchuru, southern Lubero, as well as Walikale territories. Once again, thank you very much for watching us. Thank you for taking your time to be with us. If today is your first time to watch our program, please don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, share our videos with friends and colleagues and family members. And also, if you can make a comment, if you can give us a call, if sometimes you can send us a message, that would be good. And don't forget to click on the bell so that whenever we are live, you can watch us also live. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for choosing Congo. Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for loving us. I will go up now and stop this program of ours at this point. Our Congo will continue to be one and won't be divided. Bring your contribution. I'll bring also my little contribution. And if we put them together, we will be winners. May God bless our country. May God bless you. Thank you and see you next time. Goodbye for now.